me. I know the team thinks it's Sean Hannity. No, it's me. It's related to Sean Hannity though. So I want to finish up a week-long arc, and that is seeing if it made sense to give Sean Hannity even the tiny bit of credit I gave him. Now, at the time, when I gave him credit for seeming to encourage people to not willingly throw themselves into a COVID volcano, we gave the context that he was still bringing on people to talk about vaccine side effects for different vaccines and all that. It was never great, but I still am so desperate to give credit that I did a little bit. And I am garbage because of that. Because he's not gonna go more than just a couple of weeks, a couple days, allowing you to think that he's taking it seriously. So because of the strike back that he's gotten, he went on his show and had this to say.
I have no idea why, but it was only in the last week, my coverage of coronavirus, COVID-19, got the attention of the liberal press in their attempts to paint this great network of ours, which has varying opinions, which is actually fair and balanced, to paint us as a dangerous anti-vax network. They watched this program and were shocked to discover what I said and what I had been saying for months and months and months. Business Insider reports, quote, suddenly Sean Hannity and other Fox hosts are urging their viewers to get COVID-19 vaccines. I never told anyone to get a vaccine. I've been very clear. I am simply not qualified. I am not a medical doctor. I know nothing about your medical history or your current medical condition. I think it's inappropriate for me to do so. Instead, for over a year now, I have been warning my viewers, you make my career possible. I want every American, liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat, I want you to be healthy.
I want you to be healthy, but like people are really criticizing me, and I've already made clear to you in the last 30 seconds, I'm focused on the effect on my career. I'm literally talking about it right now. So I want you to be healthy, but like if you're gonna criticize me, I guess I gotta go back to being okay with you dying. But don't get mad at me. I've been consistent for months saying, I don't know, like you can get it, you can not get it. I don't care. I'm gonna make you suspicious about it, but it would be nice if you didn't die, but I'm not gonna actually try to stop you from dying. The whole thing is just such garbage. They live in constant terror of their audience. That is, unfortunately, the curse of the grifter. The grifter puts together an audience, extracts money out of them like a parasite, but it's really kind of symbiotic because now I need you. I don't want to lose you guys. Come on. I know I told you these lies that made you really comfortable, but don't go anywhere. I still need more money out of you. And so Sean Hannity is not going to allow himself to become the next Shep Smith or the next Ducey or whatever. He needs to reassure them that he's just as anti-science as he had led them to believe. And so he didn't deserve any of the credit. We'll see going forward, but I'm gonna be a little bit more hesitant to dole out credit that's probably not deserved. Thoughts, Brett?
Two thoughts. One, this is hilarious. Second, dude, Sean Hannity, Fox News all the time tells people to take all kinds of crazy medications because as soon as it goes to commercial, it is only ever medical commercials that are telling you that you need to take Jardiance.
Yep.
Talk to your doctor right now and ask them if Jardiance is right for you. He doesn't even go as bold as the ads on his own network to say, talk to your doctor. He says, I don't know what you want. And the other thing is that his audience just doesn't want to be reasoned with. And it's a thing that happens all the time when you have this rabid group of people that you just keep throwing red meat at ever. You ask them to eat a vegetable once, they completely lose it and go for the hand that's been feeding them.
Yep. That is an accurate description of that situation and my diet. Yeah, you're 100% right, and he's demonstrating it in real time. So those are our garbage people, but what about you? Well, 35,000 of you voted this week for the community garbage person of the week, and we've got your top 5. Starting at number 5 with 3% of the vote, Megyn Kelly for attacking Naomi Osaka over her Vogue cover. At number 4 with 9% of the vote, you've got Marjorie Greene for claiming vax questions violate her HIPAA rights. That was more funny than garbagey, although awful. At number 3 with 24% of the vote, you have Rand Paul for accusing Dr. Fauci of lying about COVID research. That was a fun one. Number 2 with 26% of the vote, Kevin McCarthy for nominating 2020 objectors to the 1-6 committee. And your garbage person of the week, 38% voted for Jeff Bezos for thanking his workers for paying for his space trip. Sometimes I disagree with you all, but I will bow to the popular wisdom here. That was a really garbagey thing to do. So thank you to the 35,000 of you who voted. Thank you to everybody who's been signing on as a member, getting us closer to that rainbow dragon emoji. Much appreciated. Brett, also, I guess, thanks to you.
Thank you. We'll see you in common room later. I think we're gonna play games tonight again. It's fun to do that. So Jackbox, John will be on.
Definitely stay tuned. What? And thank you all. Indisputable is coming up with Rashad Ritchie and Francesca Fiorentini, and that's just the beginning. You've got Galaxy Brain, you've got the Power Panel. There's a lot coming, but until then, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
It's Friday. We have a hell of a show today. Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richard. Good to have you here. In the bullpen later in the program, we will have Shelly Winter, host of Word on the Street, 95.5 FM WSB. He's a black conservative. We're going to talk about the assault on education in Texas and other places. And we may get into critical race theory as well. You don't want to miss that. Guaranteed to be lively. Every time he's on the show, it is a lively discussion. Breaking down news of the day, Francesca Fiorentini, who is host of, and I only say it one time, The Bituation. I only say it one time, all right? She's gonna have to say it next, all right? My top news today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you a video of what I would say is a murder. It is a police officer killing a man by shooting him in the back. This is graphic. Let me warn you, it is not easy to watch. Here it is.
Phoenix Police. Have you done? Whoa! Put your hand down!
The man was complying. The man answered his door with a gun in his hand that he had a right to have. He answered the door because he didn't know who was knocking on the door, and he had issues with someone else knocking on his door late at night. He did not know this was the police. Let me give you some background to what happened to Mr. Ryan Whitaker. Police in Phoenix, a Phoenix police officer, Jeff Cook, is set to be fired for the fatal shooting of Ryan Whitaker. That occurred last May. Less than 3 seconds after answering the door, you saw exactly what happened. Now, you saw what happened, right? This man was not being violent. This man literally, once he saw the police, he said, whoa, whoa. And he started to lay down his weapon as well as lay down his body. That's what he started to do out of respect to the fact that law enforcement is at the door. He gets shot and killed in 3 seconds. Here's what the officers said happened.
Back away from the gun. Get back and get out here. Come out here. Come out. I'm not going to shoot you. Come out here. Come out here. Over here. Over here. Get down on your knees. Get down on your knees. Get down on your knees. Just get down. Just get down. Relax. You just pulled a gun on us, ma'am.
Okay, because it's dark and someone just knocked on the door. Baby!
Hey. Just relax. Stay right there.
There's nobody else in the house.
Okay, fine.
Why did you come and knock on the door? What's the problem?
Neighbors called, said you guys were arguing and fighting.
There was fighting over here.
I knocked on the door. I yelled Phoenix Police.
There was no fighting.
He opened the door with a gun.
This is crazy because literally the other night he heard knocking on the door and he was looking through the peephole and he does have a gun on him.
Yeah, he does. He came to the door with it. And I'm not saying that he did anything wrong, but he just.
But did he pull it on you guys?
He had it out, and when he saw it was us, he hit behind his leg and he started walking at me. I drew out on him. I was on him, but I didn't shoot. My partner shot. So the guy upstairs calls. So when he calls back, they hot it out. And while we're on the way, dispatcher says, "Just so you guys know, weren't able to get any further info from the complainant." He says he just is going to answer yes to all the questions. He just wants the cops here now. Okay, great. Thanks for that. You know, I pull to the left of the door. Jeff's on the right of the door. Stand there. Door comes whipping open. I'm like, oh, killed something. And then I saw a gun in his hand. So I yelled, gun. Throw out. And the guy started going right down. So I was like, no, I don't have to fire. Yeah.
They're lying. The video clearly shows that the individual, Mr. Whitaker, should be alive today. These officers responded in haste. One committed the crime. I see it as a crime. I know we have to say alleged, but what you saw was the death of a man that should be alive right now. Now, let me give you some more background. You saw towards the end, Officer Ferragamo going over the incident with another officer, again, insinuating that Mr. Whitaker was aggressive up until the point Officer Cook shot him. Not in the video, contrary to the facts, opposite of what happened. You are being untruthful. You are a liar. You are aiding and abetting is what you're doing. Now, this is Ryan Whitaker, 40-year-old father. Just celebrated his daughter's high school graduation earlier that day. He's dead. There was no domestic dispute, ladies and gentlemen. No domestic dispute whatsoever. It took Phoenix police 55 days to release an edited version of the body cam footage after a prompt request from Whitaker's family and friends. This officer, Jeff Cook, shot Whitaker and is now on administrative leave. Let's put up his picture. Yeah, that's him. He was placed on administrative leave after shooting a man in the back who was complying, who was not a threat. This is the officer who lied, Ferragamo. He's the one that made up the phony story about Mr. Whitaker being aggressive against them. Thus his partner having to pull and shoot his weapon. There's more. Whitaker's family said the couple had not been fighting, but they were playing a video game before going to bed. Whitaker's sister said he took his gun to the door after having recent trouble with an unknown person banging on the door at night. No domestic dispute, no violence, no criminality, nothing. On May 26, 2021, the Use of Force Board, comprised of sworn staff and community members, reviewed the shooting involving Officer Jeff Cook and recommended the incident be designated as within policy. After extensive review of the totality of the circumstances, get this, the damn chief, Chief Williams, has notified Officer Cook of the intent to move forward to end his employment with the Phoenix Police Department. The chief did that. The administrative process is still underway. In the interim, Officer Cook remains on administrative leave, and ladies and gentlemen, he remains paid. An entire board said, all good, no issue, within policy. The chief said, no, it's not within policy. It gets deeper. The Phoenix Law Enforcement Association, according to their statement, they are disappointed in the decision by the Phoenix Police Department to terminate Officer Jeff Cook. Cook should be in prison due to a shooting deemed in policy by the department's Use of Force Board, and will support him through the appeal process. What? You have got to be kidding me. Okay. According to the official report, this officer said that he felt he was in danger. He was threatened. No threat at all. My dear sister, how do you see this case?
I mean, there's so much there. We just have to take it piece for piece. But it's a crime. It's a clear crime and a clear murder of someone who was not even told to drop their weapon, or if they were, the bullets were already leaving this officer's gun as it happened, right? And when you look at the totality of it, you think, okay, so police officers are really deputized gangs. They are above the law, they can do what they want, and if there's any kinds of consequences, like after a year, terminating someone's contract, then you will have another gang behind you, which is the police union, that will come out and appeal and support you. Doesn't matter what you did. And so it is just time and again, you realize the police are not making us safer. They are truly not making us safer. And obviously, it is it is different to see a white man, an unarmed or an armed white man, be the one who is a victim in this case. But then you see that like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the police are treating people like less than human, and especially people and Americans who do have a right to to bear arms, who do have a right to carry a weapon, right? And who do have a right when someone's knocking on your door in the middle of the night to bring that weapon to the door. That's not a crime. It truly isn't. And I think this is where the right completely misses the mark, because you have a guy like Whitaker who is defending himself. He's not, he was not like aggressing upon anyone, answering his door with a weapon, perfectly legal, and he still gets murdered by the police. And yet we're supposed to so-called back the blue, or are we supposed to back responsible gun ownership under the Second Amendment? Which is it, right? It seems to me that the progressives and liberals have got this issue right, and it's the right that doesn't understand that we have an out of control force that is supposedly meant to keep us safer and is not.
And think about this, they are so detached from humanity that none of these police officers, after they commit this egregious act, none of them are emotional about it. None of them are remorseful. None of them are even hyperventilating. I mean, nothing. They're not showing common emotion for a crime. Let's say they made a mistake. Let's say, okay, the guy's saying, I made a mistake. Well, where's the remorse in your mistake?
Yeah.
You guys immediately went into cover-up mode. You immediately went into cover-up mode. That means there's a culture here. There's a culture of corruption that allows you to respond this way when you are faced with a tragedy. Yes. Where's the NRA? Where's the NRA? What are they gonna say about responsible gun ownership? I think you make a fine point. Nothing, because it doesn't fit their national narrative. So they're not going to say a word about this. And look at all of the committees that were involved. Initially, you have a committee. They say some of the people on the committee are community members, and some are sworn officers. That committee said, oh, this was within policy. And then the chief had to step in and overrule the committee and say, no, this is not within policy. So we're having a policy debate when we should be having a criminal debate. That should be the debate. And then the city council gets involved. They vote unanimously that this officer was out of line, outside of policy, and they award the family $3 million. No money will bring back a loved one. They award the family $3 million. In December 2020, the Phoenix City Council voted unanimously Wednesday to approve a $3 million settlement with the family of Whitaker. Doesn't bring them back, but once again, why are we not discussing this in the context of a criminal investigation?
Yeah, I mean, and it is really just like, you look at that footage and you're like, this is like a night raid in Iraq, or Afghanistan. This is just like, the sort of brute military force, go in shooting, ask questions later. And again, just like his partner screaming and crying, and just how many loved ones are told to sit down, to be quiet, to calm down when they've watched their loved ones. I remember the same footage on Philando Castile and his partner crying and no, in fact, calmly telling the officer that he was in the wrong. It was on her to be the bigger person. And this is the thing, like, we talk about police training this, police training that, and every time, right? It's always like, well, here's a police simulator, and they put some journalist in, and they walk around in this sort of video game, and they end up shooting somebody, and the officers are like, see, you are gonna shoot too. You're gonna be trigger happy too. And it's like, here's the difference though. Why does all this training lead to like officers who are deathly afraid? It is a dangerous job, but like, aren't you supposed to rise above that feeling? Aren't you supposed to rise above that? Isn't your training preparing you mentally and physically to disarm people, to tell people calmly, to de-escalate a situation? But 9 times out of 10, they escalate situations. They make things worse. Imagine if they hadn't been playing video games. It was a domestic dispute. What if there was domestic violence involved? Does anyone still deserve to lose their life on that night? No, not at all. And so that's another thing, is like, we need to be calling other forces than the police. And look, I'm someone who still believes in the slogan defund the police and to fund mental health services, domestic violence services, people who do know how to de-escalate situations.
Very well said. Let me go to a group of folks that only know how to escalate fear. The biggest hypocrites that you will find on the news, no, not those people. I would get to them later. But today, they're actually positive in my story. The Lincoln Project, a political action committee of current and former Republicans. They're basically anti-Trump, all right? Politics will make strange bedfellows at times. Fox News, the rhetoric of Fox News has led to the death of individuals in this country. There's a new commercial out by the Lincoln Project. Here it is.
Is Rupert Murdoch trying to kill Americans? His network is the leading voice against COVID vaccination.
How many Americans have died after taking the COVID vaccine?
Going door to door, this is creepy stuff.
The focus of this administration on vaccination is mind-boggling.
The Americans who are dying from COVID are almost all not vaccinated. Rupert Murdoch was vaccinated. Does anyone really think Tucker Carlson isn't vaccinated? But Murdoch's Fox News continues to put Americans at risk by pushing anti-vax hysteria. It's dangerous, immoral. Fox News is helping kill Americans. Call your local television provider and tell them to drop Fox News. It's not about politics. It's about life and death.
I mean, damn, that purge music along with the ad. I mean, say what you want to say about the Lincoln Project people. They make amazing commercials. Significant truth in everything in that commercial. Significant truth. Earlier this week on Indisputable, we covered the fact that human resources of Fox News, they sent out an email. We showed you that email. Fox News, they have a COVID protocol, a COVID vaccine protocol. And if you adhere to the protocol, you do not have to do the daily COVID checks. Yeah, they're vaccinated. Of course they're vaccinated. But once again, you have a group of individuals being paid to represent a point of view adversarial to the community that trusts them. We call those people sellouts. Francesca, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. First of all, I love the Lincoln Project. Look, they've got a bunch of money. Go to it. Go ham on cable news. Buy up the ad space. Like grassroots people don't have that money, so just do it. It's not harming anyone. I like the action item. Call your cable provider, because this is actually how the only thing that's gonna stop Fox News is if we hit them where it hurts, which is in money, going after their advertisers, going after the cable providers, who are all owned by like right wingers anyway. So I don't know how effective it's gonna be. But another thing I floated on the damage report was, look, there needs to be class action lawsuits from COVID death family members, right? People who've died from COVID, and saying, look, you are spreading this misinformation. You're gonna lead to, there are one-to-one relationships between people who watch Fox News religiously and who have died. Their family members have blown the whistle, have said, yeah, my father, my uncle, my mother, whatever, couldn't convince them otherwise to get the vaccine because this is what they were watching day in and day out. So I say, hats off to them. And look, this is what happens when you politicize the pandemic, but also when you've created a political cult. You can't go back on it. If everything is a cult and we just believe things that we can't see, but we know and we feel, then it makes perfect sense that Fox News, a network built on things you can't see, that you can't feel, immigrants coming for your jobs, black thugs, coming down, like banging down your door. Is any of that happening? Look at the McCloskeys. Was anyone actually trying to terrorize them? No, right? But that's what you're built on. Then you're gonna continue to double, triple down on the cult-like mentality.
Exactly, well said. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
We
get animated about the news. Yes, we're not the robots on TV. I actually care about the news. Guilty, I care.
Senator Sanders, I'm going to do something unusual. I'm going to ask you a policy question.
Hey, how dare you? That's the problem. You're the problem. Don't ever attack the Republicans. Where the is the liberal media? No. These are all establishment guys. They love the system as it is. They're all enormously rich off the system that exists.
For us, this system isn't working.
So what this campaign is about is trying to create an economy that works not only for the people on top, but works for all Americans.
We're gonna rock the boat. We're gonna be counter-establishment. We're gonna tell people the truth to the best of our abilities, and we're gonna keep it real with them.
I missed you guys. I was born to be eccentric.
As soon as we figured out Instagram, they were like, can't use that anymore. The old people have it.
Luckily, I'm mostly happy. Everything about Wiener Schnitzel is funny.
Can we thank Cuck Schumer just so that we can say Cuck Schumer?
If you and me pop up on TikTok, there's going to be like a creeper alert throughout TikTok.
I'm going to do the rest of the show this way. It's a better look for me.
Did you watch any of Bridgerton?
Yeah, and obviously I stopped watching after 5 minutes.
There is a secret British female inside me. Welcome to old school.
Let's give the people what they want.
How in the world are you going to get the right to vote if you don't already have the right to vote? That's impossible. Reason they tell you things are impossible is because they don't want you to try. It only took 7 years for that to get an amendment to get a right to vote.
Does this result in millions upon millions of Americans losing their coverage? And we've been waiting to find out, and now we know, yes, it will cut millions.
Public education was supposed to be the way to equalize everyone regardless of their socioeconomic status. But if you come from a family that's poor, how are you going to afford grade school for your kids?
This fight is about fairness and morality. It's about the American values.
You think that black people all across the country, in every city, were all lying when they said the police abuse and the police kill us when they should? No, of course they weren't lying. Yes, it does happen. Yes, they do get targeted more.
Why are we going to put immigrants in prison for 5 years, which American taxpayers have to pay for, if we're so concerned with immigrants using up our so-called resources?
We're gonna do both. We're gonna fight Trump and we're gonna fight the establishment. It's not that hard. Yes, you can do both at the same time. Go tell them.
ShopTYT.com has new shirts like this one. And you're thinking, Cenk, what is that one? I can't see it other than the black. Yes, so I'll show it to you. If you can read this, you're not practicing social distancing. Yes! Now, you were practicing social distancing. This is over video. But overall, you get it. ShopTYT.com.
Welcome back. Let me read some of these amazing viewer comments. Don't forget to always check us out. Indisputable TYT, Indisputable TYT. That's on social media. And you can hashtag Indisputable TYT. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter. IG and Twitter. All right, let's get to these comments. TYT member, Mickey C, the silver haired dragon says, I learned so much from Dr. Richey. This week alone, he's taught me 2 new words, Karenicity and the political party moneycrat. Yes. Never too old to learn new words, exactly. Diana says, very angry tears. Yep. I am a damn lib says, how much you want to bet that the person who called the cops is the same who is harassing them at night by knocking on the door? That person should be investigated for sending the police to kill his neighbor. Wow. Let's go to Super Chat. Deidre Dragon says, when humanity seems to be slipping back into the dark ages, the wisdom of Dr. R and Francesca is what we need. That is so sweet. Love and respect. Mark Bugs says, the Lincoln Project ad got me scared, and I don't believe anything Fox says. That was freaking crazy. Call your cable provider? Damn. Yeah. Okay, all right, we got a lot more. I'm gonna try to get to more as we go on, but thank you so much for engaging. Next story.
Black man, look, you give me a call, black man. Give me a call. I'll give you $300, black man. Give me a call, black man. No one fucking wants to look at you.
I wouldn't be giving her a call, black man. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
I feel free. Back off.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Okay, Elizabeth Tracyak wandered into a Super 8 motel in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. According to the police, she was staying at a neighboring hotel, but entered the Super 8 while intoxicated. Obviously, you see the racism and the extreme anger coming from this woman toward a black hotel clerk. She is now facing criminal charges after he turned the video over to the police. Here's what else she did.
Black man, look, you give me a call, black man. Give me a call. I'll give you $300, black man. Give me a call, black man. No one fucking wants to look at you. Come on, black man. Come on, black man. Come on. Wow. Look. You know what your name is? Look.
She's calling him the N-word, destroying property. Now, she has been charged with bias intimidation, assault, harassment, and disorderly conduct. Now, understand this in New Jersey. New Jersey does not have a hate crime statute, but they do have a hate crime like statute, and it's called bias intimidation. It falls under that category, and it's basically the same thing in the courts. My dear sister, you see this, it's unreal, but it happens more often than it should.
I mean, it is, first of all, the graphic, I wish a Karen would, is probably the best graphic ever created by anyone, anytime.
Production team, Jordan, the crew.
Man, hats off, yes. Because Indisputable literally just has the best interstitials. I love this, I love those. It is painful. It's painful because, it doesn't matter that she's drunk, and I hate I really, really, really don't like the well, what if she is mentally ill or if she's drunk? Like these are excuses because what we're seeing is just a bald-faced entitlement and crazy amounts of entitlement, and also a feeling of like that she doesn't want to be told what to do by a clerk, by someone who is black, by a staff member who is black. That's straight up. She doesn't appreciate it unless this person's serving her. Unless this person is rolling out the red carpet, unless this person's helping her with her bags. If this person was helping her, but clearly something happened that Karen didn't like, that she felt like, oh no, now she's in the right. And she's gonna call this man the N-word, black man, which she said sort of with an N-word intonation, let's be real. It just sounded like the N-word in the way that she said it. And it's painful, again, just as I always say this, but check on the Karens in your life, and they're not hashtag not all Karens. I know some very good women named Karen. However, it is the mentality, and you're like, this is what MAGA has wrought. This is what this moment has wrought, which is, hey, blame other people for your problems. That is it. And guess what? It's open season. You can be openly racist. It is fine. In fact, it's celebrated because why should you be so-called PC? Because doesn't everyone think this? No, they don't. Not everyone harbors the bigotry and racism that these folks do.
Yeah, and what you see on display are individuals who cannot put people in their place, so to speak.
Yeah.
And when they can't do that, they feel they need to resort to a racist default.
Yes.
And that racist default is their go-to. Now remember, this happens because it's already inside of them. This does not happen because of the alcohol. This happens because the alcohol has allowed the barrier to be eliminated. It's called liquid courage. And we continue to see this happen with Karens, male and female Karens across America and beyond.
Liquid Klansmen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, double dose.
Oh! Put the knife down! No! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Y'all wanna f***ing with my kids? Sit you going but you got a whole weapon!
This is a white female chasing black children on a playground with a knife. She's an adult, they are children. She has a weapon, she's chasing them, calling them the N-word, and saying that they are the ones who are wrong. Fort Wayne police said that no charges were originally filed against Rowling because she and the children's parents decided to handle things by themselves. But the local change makers of Fort Wayne, a local advocacy group, spread the video online, urged the public to contact local officials and demand action. Let's put a face up. Yeah, she's been charged with 2 felonies, and here's more.
You sound f***ing dumb as f***. You don't You went up! Guys, get away from now! What's up? What's up? Get your bitch ass in the car. I got it.
He called me an N-word though.
Because you're being one. An ignorant person doesn't mean you're black.
But you can't say it. You can't say it. I can say whatever I want. It's freedom of speech. Has she said the N-word?
Stop.
He called me
Beat up 3 of my kids.
2 of your kids. Who the 3?
No, they almost
McKenna?
did.
Girl,
Did.
I don't hate girls. I hate.
No, they almost did.
It doesn't matter.
Go to jail, they stopped.
My kids weren't f***ing with you.
Yo, he called me the B-word 4 times. He did.
Deserved it. He kept doing mean stuff.
Exactly, he deserved it. And then that's
Okay, I apologize. You need to watch your fucking mouth.
Like I said.
You sitting there telling me that they're starting.
They is. They all started this.
No, see, you got me. Get the f in the car.
redneck logic is a hell of a drug. So she runs after children, black children at a playground with a knife because her young white child said these black kids were picking on me. And as she is committing multiple felonies in front of her child, she's calling the black kids the N-word and other things as well. She learns from the black children she was trying to kill that it was actually her son who used words that were not appropriate to the black children. And then she turns on her own son and says, shame on you for using that kind of language. You taught him this, Karen. You taught him to handle conflict in this way. And here's the other thing. He knew you were crazy as hell. That's why he told you the story he told you, because he knew you hated black people. So he told you the story that would make you get in your damn car, get a knife from your house, and chase black children on the playground and call them the N-word because he already knew the kind of evil that lives inside of you. He played you, he manipulated you because your own evil betrayed you. He knows who you are. That's why he did it. That's why he manipulated his mother. Francesca?
You shouldn't be using that effing kind of language. I mean, come on, like, lady, who do you think he learned this from? This is out of your mouth. You just wielded a knife at a bunch of children. Like, you're absolutely right. I mean, it is so sad because you see the ways that, like an emboldened racism is intersecting with someone who's clearly unstable, which again is not an excuse, but it's just like the superiority and the supposed racial superiority that she clearly feels going after children, right, is also intersecting with her terrible parenting, her like clear lack of a grasp on, I don't know, reality. Why are you chasing these kids around? And every time you see these videos, they're funny, they're bizarre. It's like rubbernecking, you see someone at their sort of worst, which you're like, wow, I didn't know you had that in you. But for me, they always come back to if the shoe was on the other foot, if it were black, a black mother and a child going after 3 white kids, if it were, just black women consistently doing this or black men, how many of them would have survived it? How many of them would this end in a police officer shooting them dead, right? I don't think the police are the answer at all, but it's just incredible the way we see this hypocrisy play out where you say, man, like they're emboldened because there are literally no consequences for what they're doing. And it's, I mean, once again, you just need to watch enough of these videos to be like, oh yeah, white privilege 101, here we go. Is this critical race theory? Do we need to cancel these videos? Like, is that what that is?
Yeah, and here's the other part of the privilege that this woman did actually benefit from initially. The police department, Fort Wayne Police said, we're not going to arrest anyone. We're not going to seek an arrest warrant, even though they saw the video, right? Mm-hmm. Because according to them, the parents decided to handle things by themselves. Now, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that just because 2 people decide to work something out, they all of a sudden are immune from felony prosecution? I've never heard of this before. If you are committing a felony against children, I don't think law enforcement should be able to just look away because you said you're gonna talk things out. Where in the hell does that happen? If it had not been for Change Makers, the organization, who pushed the issue, pushed the agenda, this woman would have gotten away with criminal acts against these children. And it sends a horrible message to these little ones. When people, especially white people in society who are racist against them, are able to get away with doing it. Yeah. At least now they learn that there may be a symbol of justice at some point in the narrative of the criminal justice system. Okay, we got more on the other side. stick and stay is indisputable.
You know, old school's pitched to me from Jake. It'll just be me, you, Jesus, Ben, and maybe Michael. And we're like, okay, cool. I can do that every week. As you can see, me, Jesus, Ben.
When you make the order, it says, don't exceed $20.01. So I'll just order literally anything to get it as close to that as I possibly can.
I'm sorry that I ordered $45 worth of food and got an email saying, sir, would you like to rethink that? What are you talking about?
I was in hell. I was just like, oh my God, the theater's empty, nobody's here. Everyone on screen keeps fucking cursing. Why did I let this happen? And the whole thing looks like it was shot through a glass of milk. My mom's gonna be so mad.
If you're looking for a heart attack, the short way, baby.
Wrong. I did put mayonnaise on it. I'm the most in shape, overweight person you'll find.
That's right.
He was like, why didn't you answer my call? I called you 39 times.
Yuck. But what makes you stop right before 40? What makes you say, nah, man, I ain't doing that no more. I'm cool.
And I called you back on the air. And I was like, okay, Kevin Smith, big shot. What the you said you'd come on and you didn't come on.
I'm sure I took that very well.
Yeah, you did. You called me back the next day and said, I thought it was 7 a.m. And there's now deep fake porn. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
I heard of it. I just had some in the car.
I'll tell you who I'm not Ben Mankiewicz. Have you guys ever felt that?
Not ever.
And now it's just the three of us.
This is the intimate hour.
By the way, the last half hour of this, we're not even rolling.
Fair enough.
Hey, man. See, I watch movies.
I'm done with both of you.
Once Craig starts laughing, I can't stop. And I was just gonna ask you about getting high.
Snoogans, Snoochie Boochies. And members, of course, you can get the whole damn thing. TYT.com, join and free trial.
I'm old school with the old folks. Good.
John, come back.
Field goal here. It's time to switch to beer.
Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Do your best.
He's a little like...
Oh. No one's happy now.
Give him another try.
Oh. Wow.
This is the weirdest game.
I'm Brett. I would like to refer to this segment as the Do I Still Have This Talent show. So I want to see if I can play harmonica without my hands. I don't know why I have that. Nothing's gonna be more impressive than that. I can also spin a basketball on my finger. While drinking. I'm gonna spin a basketball on my finger while drinking apple juice. You can do this, dude. It's also flat. I don't know if that helps or hurts. And it seems to be somewhat wobbly. Ta-da! Nope, I don't know how to do this one. This one's a fail. Nope. Oh God, I'm so mad.
Welcome back to Indisputable. Let me read some of these amazing viewer comments. We got a lot of them. TYT member Danielle Labique says, hi, Dr. Richie. It's always great to see you, and I'm super excited to have Franny here too. However, seeing another person killed by the police breaks my heart. This is exactly why it is so important to get the George Floyd Act signed into law. Thanks for keeping me up to date on the truth. Love you both, and we love you back. Thank you for that. Cognitive dissonance is a hell of a drug, says, no, son, I'm gonna need more than an apology. That's attempted assault with a deadly weapon. Exactly, okay? YouTube super chat, another name says, you're an outstanding commentator, thank you. Constantly making points I've never heard before. Even if it's on perspectives I've debated plenty of times, you spit fire of wisdom. Indisputably incredible, thank you for that. CS says, Karen said, oh, sorry, like that solves everything. What the? I thank God for cell phones capturing these incidents. Poor kids. Yep, all around, by the way. Late bloomer, if this isn't bias intimidation, I don't know what is. Yeah, Logan, X10. See how easy it is for Karens to ruin their kids? Very easy. Soul of Our Country says, she came after other people's children with a knife based on the word of her child? What a Karen would. Twitch, Drew in Georgia, I am mentally ill. You will never catch me Karening.
Yeah.
Ham Salad Dragon 13 says, I would never call anyone the N-word when I'm drunk or sober. The alcohol just lets the true racism flow. Exactly. And the reason why you wouldn't do it if you're drunk or sober is because it's not in you to do it. You're not racist to begin with. Glitteriest Dreadhead. The way she looked at her kid, haha. Yeah, that was priceless at the end when she realized that her kid was just a reflection of her. Yeah. Lisa Agan, maybe? Okay. Love this show. I hope I said it right. Love this show. The doctor is simply brilliant. Great co-host, fantastic Friday tonight.
Yeah.
Great segments, clear analysis, and of course, the bullpen, which is upcoming. Next story. Representative Maxine Waters, she is calling for a federal probe because according to her, there are gangsters in the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. She's not the only one saying it. Representative Maxine Waters on Wednesday requested that the United States Department of Justice investigate allegations that a violent gang of deputies called the Executioners runs operations at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Compton Station. This has been a narrative in LA County for decades. For decades, okay? Who's in charge of them right now? Who's in charge of these so-called gangsters? This guy, Sheriff Alex Villanueva. He's in charge. Now, according to the reports, even 3 total whistleblowers, these gangsters inside of the sheriff's office marked themselves with a particular tattoo after committing an act of violence in order to gain entry. That is the tattoo. The whistleblower, Deputy Ostraberto Gonzalez, said under oath that after a shooting, members will have a party at a bar and call it a 998 debrief. That is a code referencing the code for a deputy involved shooting. Secret groups of deputies with matching tattoos and names like the Vikings, Regulators, 3,000 Boys, and the Banditos have plagued the agency for decades. Here's a snippet of a report that came out not too long ago this year.
CBS News is taking a closer look at the lives lost to alleged gangs within the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department in our special Latina Moms, a Fight for Justice. Several deputies within the East Los Angeles Sheriff's Department claim some Latinos in the department are involved in the so-called Banditos gang. As part of the initiation process, those deputies say the Banditos force potential members to assault or even shoot innocent bystanders. They also claim their targets are often young Latinos in the community. According to a recent study by the Loyola Law School Center for Juvenile Law and Policy, violent groups like the Banditos have been operating for decades with little to no consequences.
Little to no consequences. Once again, Representative Maxine Waters, she is calling for a federal probe. Now, there has been investigations. You've had investigations happen. Absolutely nothing or very little comes from those investigations. There was a victim named Guardado, shot in the back, and the officers involved were simply relieved of duty. The deputies involved in Guardado's shooting, Miguel Vega and Chris Hernandez, were relieved of duty in December in an unrelated case in which a skateboarder says the deputies kidnapped and threatened him before Vega crashed the patrol car, leaving him injured. Gonzalez, who's the whistleblower, identified the pair as prospective members of the executioners, the gang in question. As for Gonzalez, the whistleblower, he's now on leave from the department in fear of his life, he said. His testimony has inspired 2 more deputies to come forward with similar stories of the Compton station. Wait a minute. The whistleblower, Gonzalez, is on leave and in fear of his life. What happened to most of the cops are good cops? You see, if most of the cops are good cops, the bad cops should be afraid. The bad cops should be the ones afraid of what will happen to them, penalty, persecution, prosecution, etc. They should be afraid, but they're not. They're still on the beat. They still got their gun and badge. They're still on the job. But the whistleblower who exposed much of this madness is now in fear of his very life. LA County has paid out at least $55 million in settlements in cases in which sheriff's deputies accused of wrongdoing have been alleged to belong to a secret society. That's according to a report prepared by county attorneys that lists nearly 60 cases, some of them still pending, and names 8 specific cliques.
I mean, you need to remake the sheriff's department altogether. Just dismantle it and remake it from the ground up. If you even remake it, I would say, hey, see what happens for a while. My guess is without sheriffs, you might have safer communities out there in Compton and East Los Angeles. Alex Villanueva needs to resign immediately, and local BLM LA organizers have been calling for his resignation. They have been on the front lines of this, taking to the streets, hitting the pavement, and calling it out because the case you just mentioned is one of so many young Black and Latino men here in Los Angeles who have been killed and murdered by the sheriff's department, which is enough already. But number 2 is Villanueva knows that there are gangs in his own department. How do you not know? Of course he knows, right? And then on top of it all, it's not just that there's gangs, they gather together and basically, as we sort of saw in the last video that we talked about, just kind of bro out and pal out about what went down and how it happened. Oh, you were tough. Oh yeah, we killed this guy. They are celebrating, they are rewriting the stories, and there is literally no one holding them to account for these murders of civilians, right? So, I mean, it's just amazing, like the amount of corruption that is involved here. There are steps in the right direction, but look, we passed Measure J here in Los Angeles. It diverted 10% of police funds, general funds, away from the police and towards services. Turns out Measure J is actually being refunneled back in. They're finding some loophole to not actually divert funds to things like mental health services, homelessness services, So it is, there's so much work to do in this city, but my God, it needs to start with just a straight up dismantling of this sheriff's department.
Yeah, and this is why people, myself included, we say defund the police. We say reimagine policing.
Yes.
We don't want it to just be reformed. Y'all been doing that forever. We want it to be completely redone. completely reimagined. They're just too far gone in the LA Sheriff's Office for anybody to think that they will be able to fix this through some kind of new policy or training. And let me say this for the record, because the sheriff has gone on national media talking about this. Sheriff, either you're scared or you're a member of the gang. That's it. It's one or the other. No in between. Next story. There's a Philly cop who has been charged for basically tampering with evidence, okay? Philadelphia police officer Tyree Burnett is now facing charges after deleting a video from a man's phone who he arrested. Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw said Burnett has been on restricted duty since April. The incident happened late March. She plans to dismiss him after the suspension. The body camera betrays him. Here it is.
Step out the vehicle, man. They're coming. Stay out the vehicle, man.
When they come out, get out. Why you gotta get out there? I got you on camera. Go ahead, grab me again. You ain't even moving. Oh, you got me running back. You doing that, right? Oh, hit me. Hit me. I ain't touch you. Get out the vehicle, man. Get out the vehicle, man. Are y'all serious? Take your man. You about to get sprayed.
Yeah, I'm good, sir.
Yo, can I speak to him? Can I speak to him?
He's a little bit busy right now, sir.
Tell him what you call him. Tell him to take you to the district. We gotta take you to the hospital.
This is all that. We got some.
Or what?
Everything that just transpired.
What's this phone? This is phone. This is phone. Hold on. You in my phone? I picked the phone up off the ground.
Is my video still in there?
I don't know.
So at the end, another officer says, "Is the video still in there?" You know why? Because he was gonna try to cover it up too. But it's interesting that even when the other officer says, "Is the video still in there?" the cop lies. He's all, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
You just deleted it. I mean, you literally took time to delete it. So let me give you some background. The lawyer for Jacob Giddings told CBS Philly last month that Burnett approached his client at a gas station and provided no reason for directing Giddings to get out of his car. Giddings began recording but dropped his phone while getting into the cop car, his lawyer said. Burnett then grabbed the phone and was allegedly caught on his own body cam deleting the video. You saw it for yourself. The Philadelphia Police Department confirms Tyree Burnett is charged with attempted tampering, attempted official oppression, and obstruction of justice. Okay. Initially, Giddings and his legal team planned to file a lawsuit against Burnett for the actions which were caught on the police body camera video. The police department did not comment on the arrest itself. Burnett was a 4-year veteran of the police department. Dante Mills, Giddings' attorney, confirmed at the time. They later recovered Giddings' arrest video from his iCloud account. Here's a screenshot of this dumbass officer. It caught him red-handed, right? Looking exactly into the phone while he's deleting the image. Do they teach this at police academies? I'm sure it's not the first time, and he's not the only one. Okay, but he got caught. But he has not been charged with the crime. Once again, he did it so easily, so quickly, so effortlessly that it is clear to me that this is part of a practice behavior.
Yeah, Absolutely, and just not every cop is as genius as to leave their body cam on while they're doing the deleting. Right. And to be fair, we know that there are many cases where cops won't turn over their body cam footage, right, until months and months later, and that is a whole other laundering process. But I remember a story a few weeks ago about police officers playing music from their phones to try and trigger. I just spit. Woo, I'm sorry. Try and trigger I get very excited. Copyright laws against anyone who would dare, upload a video to YouTube, right? To try and say, oh yeah, Taylor Swift's on there, now we're gonna take it down. I mean, that is something, you don't learn that. That's disgust. They talk about that, right? And this guy wasn't just a low-level officer. I believe he was, a high-ranking. I don't know, what's the high rank? I'm like, I don't know.
Maybe a sergeant, I don't know.
He was a sergeant. So what do you think is happening behind closed doors? It is everything short of a like written down directive to have these different tactics to try and weaponize, to cover up their own actions, to prevent civilians from filming their own arrests. And they've been doing this for so long. I mean, the group Cop Watch, which has done an amazing job following police officers. And they've been brutalized and had their stuff tampered with as well.
Yeah, here's the thing. If you don't want public scrutiny, do not get a job where people use taxes to pay you. That's it. That's all you gotta do. All right, thank you so much for being on Indisputable. My dear sister, always a pleasure to have you. Tell people how they can check you out, follow you on social media.
Oh yeah, watch the Bituation Room, youtube.com/FrannyFio, 5/8 Eastern on Sundays, or listen as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts to the Bituation Room.
Awesome job, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we got more. Stick and stay, the bullpen is next.
We get animated about the news. Yes, we're not the robots on TV. I actually care about the news. Guilty, I care.
Senator Sanders, I'm gonna do something unusual. I'm gonna ask you a policy question.
Hey, how dare you? That's the problem, you're the problem. Don't ever attack the Republicans. Where the is the liberal media? No, these are all establishment guys. They love the system as it is. They're all enormously rich off the system that exists.
For us, this system isn't working. So what this campaign is about is trying to create an economy that works not only for the people on top, but works for all Americans.
We're gonna rock the boat. We're gonna be counter-establishment. We're gonna tell people the truth to the best of our abilities, and we're gonna keep it real with them.
I missed you guys. I was born to be eccentric. As soon as we figured out Instagram, they were like, can't use that anymore. The old people have it. Luckily, I'm mostly happy. Everything about Wiener Schnitzel is funny.
Can we thank Cuck Schumer just so that we can say Cuck Schumer?
If you and me pop up on TikTok, there's gonna be like a creeper alert throughout TikTok.
I'm gonna do the rest of the show this way. It's a better look for me.
Did you watch any of Bridgerton?
Yeah, and obviously I stopped watching after 5 minutes.
There is a secret British female inside me.
Welcome to old school.
Let's give the people what they want.
How in the world are you gonna get the right to vote if you don't already have the right to vote? That's impossible. Reason they tell you things are impossible is because they don't want you to try. It only took 7 years for that to get an amendment to get a right to vote.
Does this result in millions upon millions of Americans losing their coverage? And we've been waiting to find out, and now we know, yes, it will cut millions.
Public education was supposed to be the way to equalize everyone regardless of their socioeconomic status. But if you come from a family that's poor, how are you gonna afford grade school for your kids?
This fight is about fairness and morality. It's about the American values.
You black people all across the country, in every city, were all lying when they said the police abuse us and the police kill us when they should. No, of course they weren't lying. Yes, it does happen. Yes, they do get targeted more.
Why are we going to put immigrants in prison for 5 years, which American taxpayers have to pay for, if we're so concerned with immigrants using up our so-called resources?
We're gonna do both. We're gonna fight Trump and we're gonna fight the establishment. It's not that hard. Yes, you can do both at the same time. Go tell them.
ShopTYT.com has new shirts like this one. And you're thinking, Cenk, what is that one? I can't see it other than the black. Yes, so I'll show it to you. If you can read this, you're not practicing social distancing. Yes! Now, you were practicing social distancing. This is over video. But overall, you get it. ShopTYT.com.
All right, welcome back to Indisputable. Let me read some of these viewer comments. We got a lot of them. T1T member Craig Souffle says, I believe aspects of what Waters is alleging because ever since Villanueva has been in his position, the LASD department has changed for the absolute worst. Wow. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon, agree with Waters, but it's not just that police department, it's countrywide. Yeah. Super chat. Good Italy. I think I said that right. Dr. Ritchie, you don't mince words. You're neither him nor her. You're a gentleman to your debate partners, and it's so wonderful. Thank you so much, man. And thank you as well. Tempest Parham says, and I think I said that right. Parham. Again, shot? Nope. Stephen Miles Cook. Not one good cop stopped him? Exactly. Where are all of these good cops? Twitch, Z Huddle, regardless of whether or not he deleted the video, which he clearly did, he didn't have a warrant to look at the guy's phone. Another abuse. Jax Drax, police abuse the misconduct, and misconduct always hurts the taxpayers and rarely affects the police. Sharpie Diesel, so when will it be appropriate for the DOJ to start investigating our police departments? Okay, good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. He's back. I have Shelley Winter, conservative, black conservative, radio personality, 95.5 WSB, word on the street, host. Shelley, welcome.
How are you, my brother? And before we get into our back and forth, I just want to say how proud I am of you, and that's heartfelt. I love you, brother. God bless you. Congratulations, and know that your successes inspire all of us. So God bless you.
Bless you, brother, and thank you for that sentiment. I love you back, my dear friend. I hope you feel the same after this debate.
I hope you feel the same.
You know, you said some common sense things on the record. And some things I completely disagree with. I don't know what you think about the Texas Senate Bill 3, 18-4, that would stop the mandate of teaching the KKK as morally wrong, and also providing more restrictions to civil rights education. That includes the movement in the 60s and other movements as well. What are your thoughts about this bill and bills similar?
I'm a conservative. See, I'm a true conservative. Understand, I'm not necessarily a Republican, I'm a conservative.
Okay.
And I don't think the government should play any role in legislating what can and cannot be taught from that aspect. In other words, I don't believe the government should step in and force a school system to teach CRT or not teach CRT. I think that should be left up to the teachers and the individual teachers in the classroom. If you're a teacher that teaches social studies, you lay out your curriculum based on whatever history and social studies you want to teach. So I don't think the Texas legislature should be in a position, I don't think conservatives should be allowing or should be comfortable with any government body, particularly a legislature, which is so far removed from the educational system because none of them are really teachers. They're lawyers and many of them are just business owners. So I think that I don't agree with it from that standpoint. As far as the actual subjects being taken away, I mean, of course we know that's probably absurd, but it's absurd because it's politicians entering into the arena of education and what can and cannot be taught. Are you going to teach about the Black Panthers? Are you going to teach about Huey Newton? Are you going to teach about Nat Turner? I'd like to see you teach about those things if you're going to teach about all the other. I mean, I feel like government should not enter into the educational realm to tell teachers what they can and cannot teach by law. That's problematic for me as a conservative.
Okay, so you make some interesting points here, and I think we definitely have some common ground. Let me first say for the record, because every time I hear CRT, I have to say for the record, critical race theory is an advanced theoretical framework, and it is not taught in K through 12 education.
Actually, that's not true. It has entered into educational systems. It has. I don't want to take it down that road.
Go ahead. No.
I'm not even. It's a red. No. It's no case to be made. It is entering into school systems. Is it being taught as? No, hold on. Is it being taught the same way in which? Is it being taught the same way in which Dr. Derek Bell? In the modern frame of it, brought it into fruition in the 70s as a legal theory and a sociological theory. No, it's absolutely not being
critical
taught.
Race theory. If it's not taught, if it's not being taught, listen to me, Shelley.
We know. I don't want to argue because
that's fine, brother. But I'm going to respond. Come on, Shelley, brother.
No,
brother. You don't know what I'm going to say, but I'm still going to say it.
I've heard you say it to several others.
Okay, we're gonna listen to it again. Then.
I watch your show. So I know what you're gonna say. My point is, no one's teaching fear.
No one's gonna stop me from saying it.
No, I'm just saying, no, I'm not sitting here. I just don't want you to think I'm sitting here saying that anyone's teaching theory, whether it's critical race, mathematical, physics theory, any theory to third graders. That's what I want you to understand that I did not say.
Here's what I will say to that, because you all continue to conflate the reality.
I just told you I'm not.
Just because you can identify some race relationship in the context of the curriculum does not make it critical race theory. That's like saying algebra is calculus. No, it is not. You're either learning algebra.
It's a horrible analogy.
Or you're learning calculus.
It's still math.
It's still math.
It's still math.
Listen to me, brother.
Algebra,
critical race, sir.
It's still math.
Okay, you said that 3 times.
I know.
Critical race theory is different than teaching race relations or the civil rights movement or the KKK. Now,
I said that.
Let's go directly.
I totally agree with that.
Thank you.
I established that when I said we're not teaching theory to third graders.
Right.
I established that.
Which makes it not critical race theory that you're teaching. Now,
it makes it algebra and calculus being math. Go ahead, brother.
No, sir. Let's go to Senate Bill 3. I know you tried, brother. I give you an E for effort.
No, I did it.
Let's go.
I did it.
Let's go to Senate Bill 3. You're laughing at your damn self. Let's go to Senate Bill 3.
I'm laughing at you.
Okay. All right. This policy, 18-4. The only reason why it's not going to the House is because Democrats left the state to stop the quorum for the voter restriction bill, all right? So that was a fundamental disagreement based on a policy issue. They left the state to stop the quorum. While they were gone, the Senate passed this Senate Bill 3. I just want to make sure I'm very clear about what Senate Bill 3 does. There are two parts to it. I'm going to talk about the most egregious part, in my opinion. The most egregious part is that one, it stops the mandating of the teaching of the KKK. It stopped. There was a mandated curriculum, or currently still is, unless they change the law, that you got to teach the KKK, and obviously you have to teach it in the context of the immoral activity of the Klan. The bill says, one, you're no longer mandated to teach it. And then it says, however, if you choose to, if you decide to teach this controversial subject, which is not controversial, but if you teach it, you cannot give deference of a particular perspective. Meaning you cannot call what the KKK did and who they are and their activities morally reprehensible.
So here's what I would say.
Okay.
Here's what if I was a Democrat in Texas, I would say, okay, I'm all for that. Let's do the same thing. No, listen, hear me out.
Okay.
I would say to them, see, the problem is most Democrats don't know how to fight Republicans. I would say, yes, let's do that. I'm all for that. Let's do the same thing for the Nazis. Let's do the same thing for communism. And let's do the same thing for every other. Well, don't shake your head. I'm making the analogy.
I just disagree.
Well, I'm making the analogy that challenge the Republicans to say the Nazis should be treated the same way as the KKK. That's what I'm making the analogy. I'm saying you're making an argument against people that clearly are doing something it's so silly from an educational standpoint. It's not about racism. It's about what's good about education. How can you not teach something that actually happened in history and a group of people that actually changed the path of history? So if you're going to, my point would be, if I'm a Democrat, I would go back to the Republicans and say, absolutely, what a great idea. Let's include the Nazis in that. Let's not teach about World War II. Let's teach about World War II without the Nazis.
Yeah, and let me tell you, and I understand your point of view. So I'm not saying I don't understand where you're coming from and what you're trying to accomplish. My only issue is these folks aren't playing games at all. Like, they are literally trying to take the moral argument out of the argument about racism in America. That's what they're trying to do. Now, let me finish, brother. I've been an educator for a number of years. You know this, I was a high school educator and became a professor. One of the great benefits of education is the moral development of the student. And if you're not teaching, especially social sciences and history, with a moral or a values core, then that teaching will always remain problematic, because now you're not developing the individual, or they don't have the tools to develop themselves in a moral or ethical way based on these teachings and based on the context provided. But you and I agree on the bigger point. The bigger point is, and I'm glad you said it the way you said it, they really shouldn't be involved in this. So let me go back to something that happened in your party, brother, because you are, and I got to say this for everyone watching, you are truly a purist conservative. Now, we will always fundamentally disagree on most policy, but there was a time in the conservative movement when you all preached a doctrine of smaller government. You all preached the doctrine of less government intrusion. And then something happened to where you all decided we're going to cherry pick big government and small government anytime we choose. So now you literally have a big government takeover of school jurisdictions, of school boards, of what a superintendent can and cannot do. You all have such a government takeover happening that literally school teachers who were typically left off limits. I mean, hell, everybody who's running for political office on both sides of the political equator would say, we want to make sure our school teachers are taken care of, right? It was one of the very few, even though there was political nuance in that, it was one of the very few topics that we could all generally agree on. Now, you all are being so dogmatic in your governmental intrusion and taking over smaller governments that you're willing to do it by way of statute, by way of law, not by way of guidance. And I think Kemp, Republican governor in Georgia, he didn't do it by law, he did it by guidance. He said, hey, it's a good idea not to do these things, but they didn't go and create a law for it. He's a Republican, a very conservative guy. How did your party get to this space, and how do you change it?
I think the party got to this space because the world changed around them. I don't agree with the space they've gotten to, but I understand how they got to that space. When you talk about teachers being those people that were largely left alone, you're right. They were largely left alone, but they didn't largely stay out of politics. So when you have a teachers union that gives 99% of their dollar donations on a national, federal, and state level, and even local level to Democrats, Republicans can't fight that because the money's going. So not to say that that's right or wrong or anything, but to say that education has largely stayed out of politics because it's always about the kids. Well, when education started getting political, there was always going to be a natural pushback to that, and that's what you're seeing. Do I agree with the manner in which that pushback is happening from my side of the fence? Absolutely not. But however, I do understand that pushback coming because when you see people, and you talked about teaching the morality of the student, the morality of a student, well, it depends on whose morals you're talking about because morals aren't necessarily, and I understand the key word being necessarily, universal. So yes, you're right in what you're talking about teaching morals, but I think also it boils down to whose morals are being taught. But that being aside, I've got to say education has become tremendously political, and I think that also is a problem because to your point, you've been a long-time educator, it should be always only about the children, not about who wins or loses an election, but it should always be about children.
Let me help you out with your analogy. Just because something becomes politicized does not mean it is inherently political. So what you're talking about is a policy agenda of these various unions. Now you're incorrect on your numbers, not 99%. They still do give to Republicans roughly 30%.
You understand my point,
right?
Overwhelmingly Democrat.
The majority typically will go to a Democratic public official or one seeking office as a Democrat. Now the reason why they're able to do this is because they have a policy first agenda. Do they have a special interest? Of course they do. A political PAC or a union is a special interest operation. They are supposed to have a special interest. They are designed and designated to have a special interest.
I never said that. Hold on. I never said that they should.
Let me finish.
I'm just saying. Understand? We get into this a lot when we talk. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm establishing.
I'm saying it's
pushback.
Right.
Well, that's fine. I'm telling you, you asked me a question first, and I was establishing my answer to
But you finished your answer, brother. It was my turn, brother.
But you were taking my answer and twisting it around.
Brother, you could have responded. No, I wasn't. I was just telling you what I believed.
Oh, okay. That's how our conversations go now. You take what I say and twist it around and say that's what I believe.
I'm responding to what you said.
But I didn't say that.
The words.
You did. You're telling me why these people have PACs, and I'm saying education based on your own definition.
I'm not twisting your words, brother. I'm just giving you some factual context, and the factual context is
that Democrats, that the educational apparatus in this country has not become a Democrat partner and give most of their money to the Democrat side. So the response would be, from the Republicans to take over education.
Shelley, here's how it works. Brother, when I allow you to talk, you allow me to talk, all right, brother? Yeah. So here's the thing. The policy agenda has remained similar, but not the same as it relates to educators. Typically, in most of your political action committees or your unions, you have a voting apparatus. You have conferences, you have a voting apparatus. You have a way in which the sentiment of the educators can be understood by the leadership of these particular groups, right? I'm a member of the American Association of University Professors. We are able to say, here's what we think is happening in education, here's what we like, here's what we don't like, right? And we're able to push the agenda that way. Now, at the end of that, we still have people that agree and disagree, right? But we represent a majority in the leadership. Now, just because Democrats are more willing to walk the political agenda of this policy group does not mean that they are now simply picking sides. How did it really work? Because I promise you, brother, if Republicans would have listened to the education unions and said, we're down with that. We're gonna go ahead and do A, B, and C. We can't give you the rest, but we'll give you this. If they would have been down with it, then these unions would be giving them more money. These unions would be more willing to have these conversations. It is because Republicans decided to take a position that was antithetical to the progress of education. And man, you can't tell me that these school teachers, you can't tell me these school teachers who are the members of these groups are not doing this for the children. You can't tell me that. The people who are not doing it for the children are the bureaucrats and politicians making the laws.
I said that, but come on, Rashad. Anybody watching this will say I said that. I'm simply telling you.
Yeah, but you can't say.
But hold on. You said, now, did you just go through a whole screed about letting each other talk? All right, it's my turn now.
Go ahead, brother.
So my point is that you asked me why the Republicans got to this point, and I answered that by saying I don't agree with the point they got to, but I understand how they got there because education has become politicized. And so my point to you is, if it is about the children, then for instance, unions wouldn't be against school choice. If it was about the children, unions would say, hey, let the parents decide where to send their kids, if it were about the children. So when education becomes politicized to the point where you're pushing policies that only benefit your union, which is completely natural, that's why you have a union, then you see parents and legislatures fighting back. But let me ask you this, on the reverse, since you talked about the union and the teachers and the professors and all of that stuff, how do we know that the Ku Klux Klan bill in Texas wasn't asked for by Republican voters, and the legislators are not responding to their voters the same way in which a PAC is responding to the members of the teachers union? And I'm just throwing that out there as a hypothetical.
Sure, because the vast majority of Texans are actually against the policy.
Then they won't pass it. That's what happens.
See, wait a minute, that's not, no, brother. Texas has passed policies that were adversarial to the public sentiment of Texans. Let me give you one example.
Give me an example.
When they passed constitutional carry. Constitutional carry was only approved by roughly, I think, 47% of the population. It was under 50 is my point.
Right.
But they still passed it. They still passed. You don't need to get a permit. Let me finish. You don't need to get a permit. You don't need to get a license to carry a gun. It was also opposed by every major law enforcement outfit in Texas. It was opposed by them as well, because law enforcement said, we don't need this headache in how we do law enforcement, but they still passed it. So literally, not only did they not have public sentiment, their typical allies were adversarial to the bill, and they still passed the damn bill, brother. So you can't say it's going to be automatic just based on public sentiment.
No, okay, fair enough in that example. And I'm sure those people that voted for that will pay that price. That's how politics work. They will pay that price for passing that bill. So you eventually pay a price for passing things that are against not only your most loyal constituent.
I got you. That's a political price.
Public sentiment.
But before that political price is paid, brother, there's a people price that's paid, and that's the argument that I make.
The reason why that law is even brought up in the first place is that people prices been being paid for a long time before. So now they're going overboard to try and let people protect themselves from the people who have been taking other people's prices. So, we know that people price has been paid before that law came along.
Brother, I'm flat out of time, man. Always a pleasure to have you.
Love you, brother. Congratulations again.
Thank you, brother. I love you back, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to have a great weekend, number one, all right? Remember this, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of this planet. And remember, the truth is always indisputable.